everybody, I'm Matt Farah, host and producer of the Smoking Tire video series and the Smoking Tire podcast. Welcome to my new dream garage, Westside Collector Car Storage, here in Playa Vista, California, where just 3 days ago, we got our certificate of occupancy allowing us to open. So forgive me if it's a little unfinished in here. We are just getting going with a brand new business and a brand new facility, but I wanted to invite you guys in, give you a little taste of the tour, and show you a couple of my personal cars. So let's just get started. Where we are right now is what I call the cathedral room. This room holds 90 vehicles on 18 Park Plus quad stackers. This is the first quad stacking system in Southern California. This is the first time these quads have ever been put indoors. This is the first time these quads have ever been put over a basement. It's the first time they've ever had battery tenders and the first time they've ever had sprinklers. There's a lot of firsts in this room. It's a bespoke facility just for that. So imagine 2 weeks from now, these stackers, Skittles colors all the way up to the ceiling. You can just see based on my Lamborghini how well light bounces off of cars in this room. We've also designed it to be ventilated with filtered air from our HEPA filters in that window. We've got our detailing bay, and we've got a whole lot more. I'm gonna take you on the rest of the tour, but let's just start with a couple of my cars, because I didn't build this place as an entrepreneur. I didn't see an opportunity to make money. It's not about that. Obviously, we would like to make money here. That is a goal. But I live on the west side of LA, and like a lot of other people, I had more cars and the desire for more cars than there was available space. There just isn't a lot of space. And so it was very important for us to put this facility in Playa Vista selfishly so I could put my own cars here. Let's start over here, where for some reason, inexplicably, my gas cap is open. I must have hit the button on the way out. This is my 2003 Aston Martin V12 Vanquish. This is a beautiful car in titanium over a camel interior. It's a V12 engine, and they made 1,800 of these from 2002 to 2006. What's interesting about this particular example is two things. One, the first owner of this vehicle was Ralph Lauren. Yes, that Ralph Lauren. We got it off him in about 2005 when it had just 2,000 miles on it. Now, it's got about 15,000 miles on it because I try to drive it whenever I can. In 2011 or 12, I can't remember, I sent this vehicle back to the Newport Pagnell factory in the UK, where it was converted from a semi-automated gearbox to a full 6-speed manual gearbox. In order to do that, they have to remake part of the interior, reprogram the engine, add a pedal box, and of course, because this car was Ralph Lauren's car, he ordered it new with special purple label leather. So we had to have Ralph Lauren, who is a family friend, send some extra leather to the factory so they could make a shifter boot and stuff out of it. What's very cool is if you see the door sill of this car, Ralph Lauren's name is actually stamped in the door, hand built in England for Ralph Lauren. So it's really neat. There's a lot of what you might call provenance. This car is what I call, it's a member of the hold, right? This is a long hold. The Vanquish is right now minimally valued. These cars are cheap. They're not modern enough and fast enough to be worthy of the big dollars, and they're not quite old enough to be true collectibles. But I believe that this car, on top of the fact that I love driving it, on top of the fact that I like looking at it and owning it, I think this car at the auctions in 20 or 30 years will be a hugely desirable car. It's very pretty. Cars that look good and sound good tend to stay valuable. And with a provenance like this car has, it should be a good one. And oh, by the way, it's so pretty. It's just so pretty. And it sounds so good. One of the things I did when we sent the car back to England was I had them wire the exhaust open. You know, it's got like a 2-mode exhaust. And so I had them wire it onto loud all the time. So, you know, it's not a straight pipe. It's got mufflers and everything, but it's on loud mode. And if you've got a V12 and a stick, why would you not want it on loud mode all the time? This car is my 1987 Porsche 911 Keen Project Safari car. This is actually my daily driver, or it is as close to a daily driver as any vehicle I own. These three vehicles right here are literally the only cars I have. I don't own a modern car of any type right now. So this car started out as a Cassis red low mile 87 911 Carrera with a G50 transmission and a 3.2 liter engine. I then sent it down to Atlanta, where a guy named Lee Keene, who is a former racing driver turned car builder, has a thing he's doing called the Keene Project, where he is turning 911s into these safari cars. I had gone to drive his personal safari for a story I did a few years ago. I was immediately smitten with the car. I drove it on tarmac and I drove it on dirt. It was absolutely incredible. And it was everything I wanted from an air-cooled 911 for the city, right? I live in the city, and when I'm in the canyons doing my work for the Smoking Tire, I'm typically driving new sports cars that I'm testing. So I didn't need an air-cooled 911 to attack the canyons or to go to the racetrack. I wanted an air-cooled 911 that would excel at the things I need a car to do every day in between. So we've got big BFG AT tires. We've got a lifted suspension with 4 extra inches of travel, right? We've got Braid Motorsport wheels. We've got the bash bars and the skid plates. We've got the fog lights, the roof rack. Also, we've redone the interior. All of this is part of the package that Lee does with his Keene Project cars. You really only decide if you want a 3.2 liter car or a 3.0 liter car, and then sort of what you want your interior to look like. Here, check this out. My interior is super fun. I love really aggressive fabrics. And to me, one of the best things about this car is that this is LA city bus material. It doesn't just look like it, it is. And it's UV resistant, it's stain resistant, it's got that texture, that nostalgia, it's got the kind of crazy aggressive pattern that I really like, and we paired that with some bucket seats. But this car's got heat, air conditioning, sunroof, it's got Bluetooth, it's got a great Clarion stereo on it. This car, even though it's 30 years old, it really has everything I need to drive every day. I have snow tires for it, so I go up to Mammoth skiing a few times a year. I got the ski rack bars for there. There's nothing better on a loose surface. When it rains in LA, those 5 days a year that it rains in LA, laws do not apply to me. I am street drifting this thing like you've never seen. We've got a super tight Quaife LSD, limited slip differential in this car, so you can really get that power down. It's only about 260 horsepower. It's a hot rod 3.2 built by TLG Auto, North Hollywood. Marco is the man, great engine builder, phenomenal power plant, but it only weighs like, 2,900 pounds. So it actually goes pretty good. It's amazing on loose surface. It's great when you're hitting speed bumps or potholes. And of course, the most important thing, the valet. When you pull up to the valet to go to a nice dinner, of course, pre-COVID, and you're rolling up, all the Ferraris and all the Bentleys and all the Lambos get moved out of the way so the man in the pink off-road Porsche can park right up front. And this car is so gangster. I mean, if you look at me, and the first impression that you would get from looking at me as some sort of a tough guy or whatever, right? And then you see a purpley pink Porsche on off-road tires with crazy casino city bus fabric, you have absolutely no idea what to think. And I love that. I love giving people something to just go, what was that? And it's really fun to drive too. It's different. It's different from your standard air-cooled 911 street build. It certainly has some more trucky kind of elements to it, but it's absolutely fun in its own way. And once you try it and you realize how fun it is, you never want, if you don't just drive something like this and immediately say, take my money, you're never gonna get it. But I drove Lee's and I said, take my money. And once I said take my money, by the way, it was 2.5 years to get that. The waiting list is even longer now. This is number 14. He just delivered, I think, 21 or 22, and there's a waiting list through 40. Like, it's years if you want to get one of these from him right now. So I got mine about 1.5 years ago, and I put, I don't know, 6,000, 7,000 miles on it, and I love it. And now do we go to the heavy hitters, the heavy hitting automobiles? The 1988 Lamborghini Countach 5000 Quattro Valvole. This is, for many car collectors, myself included, the game over. This is where it ends. I mean, this, for me, I'm 38 years old, growing up with that Alpine Stereos poster on my bedroom wall, looking at the Countach. It was white in the poster, but to be able to own this now, to be able to see it in person, come look at it, touch it, sit in it, drive it, and go, yeah, that's mine. This is a very crazy thing for me. This car is absolutely spectacular. It is the very Countach that I personally would want. Some guys that are older than me prefer the narrow body wingless cars. As a child of the 80s, this is as good as it gets. You got the gold phone dials, the fender flares, the wing, and the big motor, but you've got the older style interior, and you don't have those ugly side skirts and stuff that they changed for the anniversary. This specific Countach is one of 607 Quattro Valvoles built between 1985 and 1988. It is one of less than 200 cars built with fuel injection for the American market. So this is an original US spec vehicle. What's really interesting about my car is it has some things that other cars, other Countaches don't have. For instance, it has a built-in Escort Fuzzbuster radar detector on the dash. That was installed when it was new. It has the original Alpine CD player. That was the first CD player ever put into a production car, and that was $5,000 in 1987. 5 G's for a CD player in 87, right? It also has an aftermarket exhaust built by a guy named Al Bertoni, who was a very famous Lambo tuner in the late 80s. I also own the stock exhaust. I've never put it on. This one sounds kind of cool, and it was installed in period, so I'm about it. Also, something I have that really nobody has. Check this out. Power doors. That was installed as a mod at the dealer in 1988 when the car is new. Both sides work, and it works from all the way across the street. You have never seen a draw drop until you pop the doors in your Countach from across the street. This car is so hot. It's actually quite filthy right now because I drive it every single week. What's really important about having an old Italian car is that you gotta drive it a lot. And I mean really, like, I have a thing in my schedule called Lamborghini Exercise Day, where I go out for half a day and I put 50 to 100 miles on the car. I go have a nice drive in the hills, I have a coffee, I look at it a lot. and that's very important. Because I do that, the car runs beautifully. It starts when I need it to start, it runs when I need to run. It's like a big Fiat. It's great. The air conditioning works. It's actually, once I take my shoes off, it's actually quite comfortable. The ride is beautiful. It's got a trunk, and most people will tell you that this car is actually terrible to drive. They don't know what they're talking about. These are not people who've driven it, and if they are, they're not people who've driven a sorted and warmed up car. It's got a beautiful ride, it's got great power, it's probably as fast as like a modern Corvette, C7 Corvette. And yes, the brakes are a little 80s, you know, but it's a pre-Nürburgring supercar. Before Nürburgring times, they actually cared about things like ride quality. So this car is actually the best riding car I own. It's double wishbone front and rear. You know, actually, the stock shocks from the Porsche, not the ones that are on it now, but the ones it came with, the Porsche and the Lamborghini came with the same brakes and the same shocks from the factory. They actually share parts, which is very interesting. But this car is my dream car. It is absolutely gorgeous. And one of my favorite things about it is every time I bought it for myself. I didn't buy it for anybody else, but every time I bring it out of the garage, I run into somebody who is saying that this is their first time ever seeing one. Every time it leaves the garage, someone says, "Oh my God, a Countach, I have never seen one before." And so to be able to be the guy that brings people's first Countach experience, you know, to them, see it run, see it drive, hear it, you know, that kind of stuff, it's great. And driving it is great. So these are my cars. They are fun. Let me just give you a tour of the rest of the facility real quick. This is our lobby. It's obviously not quite done yet, but you can kind of get the idea. Engine block coffee table, big leather loungers, coffee bar, the drill, right? Inside, we've themed everything basically around Porsche colors. We started with a Bahama orange for this handrail, but ended up closer to an Inferno. And then we've got Mexico blue for our elevator lobbies and Dalmatian blue for our logos. Little racing sim in this corner. There's going to be a car book library on this wall. Our shelf gets installed next week. And then in here, this is our members wine and whiskey lounge with our lockers, TVs, Bentley W12 engine block table. Next week, we're furnishing the cigar area outside on the deck here. And of course, best view in the house. In here is the new Smoking Tire podcast studio where my friend Jay is helping us set up the electronics. This room has actually been built just for this. We've been doing the Smoking Tire podcast for 10 years from a terrible place with terrible acoustics. And we decided that finally we would take a real serious approach to the studio. So the walls are soundproof, the door is soundproof, the table is 4 inches thick of solid live oak. Is it live oak? Not live oak, it's black walnut, I'm sorry. We've got these beautiful Shure SM7B microphones. Jay built this amazing studio lighting rig, and all our new cameras are iPhones because the new hotness in podcasting does not use a computer anymore. It uses iPads and iPhones. So this is our new studio, and I cannot wait to start recording in there. And then here's my office, unfinished, but you can see how it will be a true G's corner. All I wanted my whole life was to be able to sit in a chair like this and rotate out, and that's gonna be my cars. My stacker is that one. So all my cars are gonna be right there. Yeah. This is our underground level at WCCS. We have storage for 40 cars underground. And while I can't show you that way because we have a privacy policy and we have some members' cars here, we can't show that. One thing I do want to show you is my ramp. I'm so proud of my ramp. This may sound very silly if you don't live in Los Angeles, but if you do, you probably know that we don't really have gutters here, and so all the driveways and ramp angles are terrible for low sports cars. Not at my place. We have benchmarked this ramp based on a C7 Corvette ZR1, which at the time was the longest, lowest, most annoying car you could go down a ramp in because there's no nose lift, big carbon splitter, right? So we got the specs from GM, benchmarked, made a buck, and now this ramp, to get this underground level, it doesn't matter how low your car is. You could drive an E36 M3 slammed on bags. You could drive a big 62 Impala. You could drive a Aventador SVJ, a Porsche GT3 RS with a track lip on it. Doesn't matter. And by removing the drain from over there and putting it over here, what we've done is improve the angle, but also created a banking so that water runs right along here and boom into that drain. Compared to the Countach, maybe not so special, but my dad and I got this Jaguar F-Type V6S coupe in a beautiful British racing green over tan. We got it from my mom for her birthday. Now, my mom was very excited, but she didn't actually drive it very much. She drove it 2,000 miles in 4 years. And then, as your parents do, they downsized homes and went from a 3-car garage to a 2-car garage. So this thing showed up on a truck one day, and apparently it lives with me now. So me and my wife have been dailying it, and we doubled the mileage in 3 months. Beautiful car. Here we go. Ba-da! I wanted to thank you guys for stopping by and visiting me at Westside Collector Car Storage. This is like my dream place, so I love showing it off. I'm glad you guys are into the cars. The Aston, the Safari 911, and the Countach are super fun. And the Countach should be on display very soon at the Petersen Museum in the Supercars exhibit that's going on whenever they're allowed to open again. So until then, if you're in LA and you need a place to keep your car, we do have some spaces left open to reserve. WCCS.com is where you do it. And if you liked hearing me ramble, check out my videos at thesmokingtire.com, The Smoking Tire on YouTube, or The Smoking Tire podcast, wherever you get podcasts. Bye.